And her book actually came from KDP, so you can see what that looks and feels like. We have heard from a few authors who tried to enable extended distribution and got flagged for that, and probably because of these paper issues. So something you want to keep in mind. You may not care about extended distribution, but if you do, something to keep in mind. So Ingram Spark, premium paper, it's going to look nicer. It's going to be more expensive. So you may want to avoid that if you're really cost sensitive for your special editions. On the other hand, you may just want to just go for it. And for an example of that, I want to show you a book called Shadow Angel, co-authored by Leah Stone and Julie Hall. A lot of the design work by Lucas Hall. Already you can see on the cover, there's just a lot of really amazing illustration going on. That carries through inside the book. So here's what you see when you open the page, except this isn't the special edition. This is just the normal edition. So where do you go from here? Where they went is color. So that Shadow Angel dimensional logo comes back and is gold. This amazing angel wing illustration, you can see the subtle blues and grays in that. That same illustration carries through to their chapter title, chapter spreads. You can see the same wing, and again this cool composition where the wing comes behind the text and works with the chapter title. This is in color. It's pretty subtle here. It's less subtle on illustrations inside of her book. So she's got illustration, or they have illustrations they commissioned for the major characters in the book and some of the environments. It's a really amazing book. If you have time, I have it up here, page through it. It just looks awesome. So about this, Leah said, "It's so fun to commission custom artwork for a character that you've dreamed up in your head. To put that in the book allows the reader to dive deeper into the world. It makes it seem so real." It was a lot of work, from what I understand. They use different illustrators for each of these things, so coordinating all that is a lot of work, but the outcome is pretty amazing. So, let's talk about printing and fulfillment. Now that you've got these amazing designs, how do you actually turn them into books, get them into the hands of readers? Well, one way is to just do what you guys know how to do. Upload it to Amazon. Let your readers buy it through Amazon. Super simple. Your readers can buy it at any time. You don't have to deal with any warehousing or shipping or printing. Some limited options, but definitely easy to work with. And actually, there are a few more options. Twisted Beautiful Lies, this is on Amazon. She has this available as both a paperback and a hardcover, and said, "Readers appreciate having a choice. I don't want their choice to be made by a price difference, so my special edition paperbacks are priced the same as the originals." So again, for her, access was her priority. And go back to the fact that she's using this to reach other readers. So she's not, doing a limited campaign. It's just, if you're interested in this book, you don't want a man chest on your cover, you can order this version and there's no cost. You want a hardcover, you can get that. You want a paperback, you can get that. Throttle Me is also available on Amazon. If you are interested in any book in that series, you can buy each one of those individually on Amazon. If you want the whole set, you can buy that directly from Shell's website. She only sells it as a set. As a set, she's taken a little bit of a discount on it, so it's $105 versus the $120, but it's still a pretty healthy margin, so it kind of makes it worth it for her to deal with the actual warehousing and shipping and all that. And so on that topic, she said, the main issue is having enough space to keep paperbacks in stock and the shipping supplies. We use Shopify to make shipping easy and seamless, which has been a big help. If you're interested in this, in Shopify and selling books on your own store on your website, Joanna Penn did a podcast about this a few months ago and her experience using Shopify, selling books from her website. Everyone here knows how to find Joanna Penn, but if you want to go straight to this episode, I'm going to have access to links for this and any other specifics at the end of this talk. Okay, so selling books directly to customers, it's hard to not bring up Kickstarter. Kickstarter is how Sarah chose to sell the special edition of her book. This campaign ran a couple of months ago. Her initial goal was a very modest $500. That's all she was hoping for. In the end, it came to $16,000 with around 250 backers. She's very happy with that. I think one of the things that helped her really exceed her goals is she made use of Kickstarter conventions. So she had, bonus items that you could do at different pledge levels, and then she made use of stretch goals. So she had a stretch goal where I think at $5,000 she switched printing to color. At $7,500 she took this map that was in the book and had it re-illustrated to be in color. And then at $10,000 she made the promise to swap out that digital signature and hand sign. And so you could see, if you're a fan and you want that hand signature instead of that digital signature, it motivates you to find other fans and really help build that up. And I think that really worked for her. For printing, Sarah decided to move away from KDP and Ingram Spark and is using a service called Book Vault. She actually learned about it from that Joanna Penn podcast. That's what Joanna Penn is using. She said the cost at Book Vault is better and the shipping has been good too. They also have express printing, something that Ingram has put on hold. They're based in the UK, so I was surprised to hear that she was using them, but she said that shipping has been fine. Okay, so previously I talked about a book co-authored by Julie Hall and Leah Stone. Earlier this year, Leah did a Kickstarter campaign for a different series called The Fallen Academy. And for this campaign, she really went all out on printing. So these are some of the things going on in this edition of her book. So she's got these dust jackets that are reversible. So the one side has this black scheme and then the inside has white, and you can choose which one. Either side has gold foil on it, so these gold wings just really pop out. Down here at the bottom, you may not be able to see, she's having the edges of the book all sprayed with gold foil. The campaign ran earlier this year. It's still in production, but she was able to send me some snapshots of some of the sample books she's gotten. So you can see this gold foil highlighted in the corner and the edges. She's really happy with it. It's going to be totally cool. Yeah. Obviously, this is not something you can get done at KDP. So for this, she actually found a printer in China through Alibaba and said actually she's found more and more resources there for producing not just this, but things like bookmarks and some of her swag items. This is a lot more work. She's communicating with the company overseas, dealing with getting samples back, finding these companies, making sure everything's okay. When printing is going to happen, she's going to be dealing with overseas shipping, a ton of work for sure. And she said, really, the time she's spent managing this, she could have written another book or two. But I think it's really been worth it for her. Her Kickstarter campaign closed at $111,000 with around 600 backers. So obviously she's very happy about that, though she said she's a bit daunted by the prospect of signing 3,500 books. That's just scratching the surface of Kickstarter. There were actually sessions yesterday. I wish I'd give this talk sooner about Kickstarter. If you missed those, you might want to find those once they're available online to learn more. Okay, so to review, I've talked about covers, really the beginning of what to think about in a special edition. Obviously, the first thing anyone notices. Interiors. Taking some of that artwork and bringing it inside, just making that book feel special both outside and inside. And then, printing and fulfillment, getting those books into those readers' hands. I want to briefly cover some additional things that you can think about in a special edition. One is an author's note, just a simple note just to the reader. You can talk about maybe the history of the book or just something personal to the reader. We've got a new feature if you want to make it look like handwriting. But just that personal touch that actually just, again, continues to distinguish your book from the original edition and, communicate to your reader. Bonus stories. We've seen a lot of special editions incorporate bonus stories. This might be like novellas that you added after a series completed or just short stories that you use promotional. Just include them in if you've got those, and just, again, helps elevate that special edition, make it feel like something more. A signature is something to consider. If you want to keep it simple and stick with print on demand, doing a signature and scanning it or using a tablet or something to create that and putting that in. Again, it's not a real signature. No one's going to think it's a real signature, but it just adds that personal touch and, again, makes it feel distinctive. If you get to the point where, you're in the middle, you're actually taking that book and shipping that to customers, you may want to consider hand signing because, of course, readers love that. Lastly is just merch, things like bookmarks, stickers. Again, if you have that book coming to you, just include some nice little bonus things. Again, it just helps it feel special. I've talked a bit about how to make a special edition, but I also want to quickly just cover why you might want to make a special edition. And the first reason is to just revisit. Maybe you're considering a book that you wrote 5 years ago or 10 years ago, a book that maybe you didn't quite know as much then as you know now. Chance to go back. Maybe you wish you could have done things then that you can do now. Just revisit, add some love to that book, and readers will appreciate that too. And it's a chance to experiment. Try things that you maybe are a little nervous to in your main series, like try changing the cover, move away from what's expected in your genre, and make something that maybe you just want to see. These are all chances to connect with readers just by making something that is designed for them, designed for your biggest fans is a start, but anything that you do where you're interacting with them directly, whether that's Kickstarter, selling from your website, adding an author's note, adding a signature, it just helps build that connection. And lastly, it's a chance to celebrate. If you're thinking of doing this, it means you've been doing this for a while. And it's a chance to just recognize that, hey, you've built something special here, and celebrate one of these books by just giving it some love. I asked, again, these authors. Kelly said, the best part of creating special edition books for me personally was the artistic freedom to create a darkly beautiful design. So she loved just being able to do something that she wanted to do. Shell said, I love being able to have a different vision. It's easy to get stuck thinking there's only one option for a title, but this has opened my eyes to other designs for the future. And Sarah said, it is a lot of work, but the response has been great. It's quite a boost to learn that my readers want to support my writing in ways that go beyond ebooks and audio. So, Before we get to the questions, I want to remind, if you want to look at some of these books, we have them up here. I talked about Joanna Penn's podcast, some printing options. If you want to get those links, you can scan that QR code. It's going to go in the chat room as well. That's just a PDF, just with a bunch of links to all of these resources. It includes also links to finding these books online if you'd like to maybe order one for yourself. So with that, I can take questions. Yeah, that's so everyone can hear.
I might be a little further behind other people here, but I'm not sure how to create the bleed pictures on Vellum. What do we select for that?
So you'll need to bring artwork into Vellum. In Vellum, if you want to, there's two ways to do it. If it's going to be standalone, like some of those title pages where all you see is an image, that uses an element called a full page image element. And what you can do is add that to your book and press the buttons to configure. Say you want a spread, say you want a full bleed. Vellum will tell you the image needs to be exactly these dimensions. And so you can set that up in preparation and then take that to your cover designer, or if you want to just work with it in Photoshop or Canva. For the chapter backgrounds, that's a feature called heading backgrounds, and works in a very similar way, although you'll find it in a different place. That's found in styles. And again, if you want to do that, you can go in there. We actually have a few built-in backgrounds that I didn't show, but if you want to create your own, you can go in there, again, configure it. She's got it there. And configure it to say, hey, I want this full bleed. I want it to spread. And it will say, use this exact size. And you really want to have that exact size, because if it's slightly taller or slightly wider, you're going to see a thin white strip. So you use that exact size and you add that in. And then
every time I try to do it, it puts like a little picture right under the chapter title, so I don't think I'm selecting.
Yeah, that's a different. That's just if you want a little illustration that Sarah actually had a little flower illustration. So it's called heading backgrounds. If you
styles.
Yeah, under styles. Yeah.
Hi, I have a question actually about the text feature. Is that like under the same drop down as the attributes and stuff?
For that I showed for 3.4, yeah, where you add a block quote or alignment block or all of those features, you'll see two new things. One is for text conversation and one is for written note.
Okay, great. And I'm so excited. And the second question is, I've thought about using JPEGs for that, but when that happens and people use AI to listen,
right?
Then it doesn't read it. Will this be?
Yeah,
readable?
it's just going to look like normal text. So if that's a consideration, one thing you might want to consider is some sort of context clue for a screen reader, just because it's just going to read it off as the text. So that'll help with that. Anything else? Questions I've received before is hardcover versus paperback. Traditionally, most of the special editions we see are hardcovers, but they don't have to be. Hardcovers are certainly easier to produce now that you can just do them at KDP or Ingram Spark. But two of these up here are actually paperback. So obviously hardcover always feels nicer. And if you're doing something on Kickstarter, you might want to go that direction. But if you are, say, listing on KDP, that's something to consider. And of course, that keeps the price down. So that might be something that your readers appreciate.
Do you have on the website, because I've been on the website quite a few times, do you have the dimensions for like a full spread bleed on there as far as like what size the images should be? We don't have the dimensions are going to depend on the trim size you've selected. So we don't have one listing, because if it's 5x8, it's going to be this set of dimensions. If it's 6x9, it's going to be this set of dimensions. So the best way to get that is just from Vellum itself. Okay. Just set it up ahead of time. It will tell you the exact dimensions. Oh, it'll based tell on, you on
Yep.
That? Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you again. Please come up and see some of these books. Thanks for coming.